Democrats taking their first step today to get Donald Trump's infamous and secret tax returns, using the power of the gavel to hold a hearing in the House. Now, Republicans argued this is kind of a double standard because Congress was not applying this to other candidates, a point that ran into some logical problems because recent presidential candidates had already, of course, released their taxes.
Whitewater was an independent counsel investigation, correct? During that time, do you know if the Ways and Means chairman asked for the president's tax records?
I don't know, but I believe the president voluntarily disclosed them.
The chairman of the Ways and Means Committee has never asked for that with an ongoing independent counsel investigation.
Did President Clinton voluntarily disclose his tax returns?
Yes, every year that he was in office and while running.
So there would have been no need for the chairman of Ways and Means to ask for his tax returns, despite the fact there was an investigation going on.
The key chairman on this issue, Richard Neal, using today's hearing to try to show that the House is doing this, they say, for oversight reasons, not some kind of payback. Now, if the House has to take the Trump administration to court over the ultimate tax request, well, that chairman will need Speaker Pelosi's support. Here's what she said today.
I think overwhelmingly the public wants to see the president's tax returns. And so they want to know the truth. They want to know the facts. And he has nothing to hide.
And think about the big picture here. Donald Trump talks about his wealth constantly, and he seeks publicity constantly. But his tax secrecy is ultimately a huge contradiction in plain sight. A man who asked reporters to cover his finances won't release the evidence of his finances. A man who seeks attention, obsessed with keeping secrets, which is why the feds are also probing how he used his power over the National Enquirer to both promote himself and keep those secrets, using the tabloid, we've now learned, to buy and kill bad stories. A longtime executive with the Enquirer company says Trump should be, quote, very nervous about those kind of secrets that the tabloid still knows. That quoted exec is Stu Zakim, who joins me now, as well as George Yin, the former chief staff of the House Joint Committee on Taxation, a witness at today's hearing, making the case that Democrats do have this power. Hey, everybody.
How you doing?
Good. When you look at the secrecy part, it was quite a revelation that Donald Trump had this stranglehold over the Enquirer to keep his secrets, which is not what we think of as their main job. What else do you think is important in that story?
Well, first of all, you have to look at the relationship that he had with David Pecker, who owns the Enquirer. Based on friendship, and as we've known before, Pecker takes care of his friends. So there was a long history of that relationship, and as the campaign advanced and there were more stories that were being subjected to the Enquirer, because they do pay for tips, they were very selective. They were able to give a heads up and handle it the way they did.
You say something important. People love to blend all media, but all kinds of media organizations, whatever you think of them, most of them have rules where they can't do what you just said, which is buy those tips.
Absolutely. And the Enquirer, however, has prided itself throughout its history of paying for tips.
Some people say that's how they know about the Martians who landed here.
You're mixing it up with the Weekly World News, but it's the same topic.
Actually, I'm making a joke.
Okay. But the Weekly World News always got credit for that. Nevertheless, that was another AMI title.
I mean, you see, it's a joke because there are no Martians.
Well, I don't know.
Or do we know? Oh, we've gone off the rails.
We're going off the way. That's right.
Tell us about the hearing today and whether the Democrats can really do this.
Ari, thanks a lot for having me. The Democrats and the Republicans have the authority to obtain the tax return information of any taxpayer, including the president. So the answer is yes, they do have the authority.
They have the authority because this law is pretty clear-cut, even though it hasn't been exercised, partly because of the point we explored at the top, which is the release of taxes. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, so on the contrary, it actually has been exercised very recently, both in the House in 2014 and at the Senate in 2015.
But not for a sitting president, no?
Not for a sitting president, although there was a release of information using this authority relating to President Nixon in 1974.
You're the guru. I'm going to play a little more of what you were teaching the committee as well as us here, but and some other folks from today's hearing. Let's take a look.
There may well be useful leads that you could pick up from the tax return information. How would the president's own tax interests be affected by the changes to the tax law he's made?
Most presidents have put their assets in blind trust, so it's not clear whether or not the president would even be aware of what those conflicts might be.
This president has had extensive business dealings with foreign interests. That's something we could learn more about.
A lot of important avenues there. Let me put it to you like this. If somebody watching was assured that Donald Trump's taxes are actually boring, that they don't have any great clues for Mueller or these Russia questions, what would still be, in your view, the good argument for America? Why should the rest of us care to have them released under the authorities, as you say, that exist under the law?
Well, I think it's important to understand there really are two authorities. One is to obtain, and then second, possibly to release for public disclosure. I think there are a lot of reasons why the committee might want to obtain the information, among other things, simply to check to make sure that the IRS is doing an appropriate job in auditing the returns. There's actually history on the IRS not having done an appropriate job during the Nixon administration, and it's quite understandable that if your boss, your supervisor, is the returns that you have to audit, you can imagine that somebody might decide to go easy, if you will.
Yeah, very good points, and ones that I think the voters may care about. When we go back, Stu, to the safe, this infamous safe, what do you think is in there? Do you have any evidence or knowledge to tell us why people say, yourself included, that Trump should be nervous about it?
I have no evidence of a physical safe, but let's look at what the Inquirer does. They collect secrets. They publish a very salacious publication, and secrets are what sells on the newsstand. So they have secrets about a lot of people, whether in a physical safe or a digital safe or somewhere under lock and key.
Or a conceptual safe.
A conceptual safe.
But is this stuff, given everything that's come out about Donald Trump, is this more of the same, or do you think this company that you worked with might have stuff that really is of a new nature about Trump?
Well, at this point, nothing embarrasses this guy. So, you know, in a usual situation, what the Inquirer does have might have created some damage. But look what happens now. Nothing sticks to him. So he does have stuff to fear of. But however, what happens to that information when it comes out?
But yeah, well, if nothing sticks to him, then why do you say it's nerve-wracking?
I don't know. It's a media story. So we know that you have the 24-hour news cycle now, and we have to keep feeding it. Nevertheless, he can combat a negative story as he does all the time. It's just something that never ends, I guess, is really the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we know what the future brings. I think if the right facts come out, then people will use them to understand the world around us. I mean, it's not the media cycle for its own purpose.
Right.
It's whether there's stuff out there, taxes or otherwise, that matter. Or maybe, as I stipulated, George, maybe the taxes will be boring and won't hurt them, and it's just a question of whether the government wants to use this in congressional oversight. George and Stu, thanks to both of you. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.